What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Bleach: The Thousand Year Blood War. Of course, we're pretty much picking up where we left off here, but this is just part two of the Thousand Year Blood War arc. And with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yes, I mean it's been already been 7 months since we last watched the last episode. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, let's first talk about the opening song. What was it called? Was it "Stars" by
Shooting
WOD?
Star.
Yeah,
Yeah.
visually it looked pretty good. It showcased a lot of the characters, showcased in the show so far. Um, I think it's showing off like more of a slice of life version of the main characters, um, going about their lives, and then of course certain characters, particularly like the Soul Reapers and the Quincy's facing off against each other. Basically, just hinting who might be fighting against who, in this particular season.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of the first opening from Bleach, where we see the characters in different outfits, and it felt like it might have been like sort of a callback to that.
Yeah,
Um,
and like a lot of the
And as we
characters.
know too, if we've seen the some of the manga illustrations from Kubo, he usually has the characters in different um like these different outfits. Like you'll have the main cast wearing different clothes and all the other characters. So I feel like it's also sort of a reference to that as well.
Yeah, it also kind of did the same thing for at least some of the ending songs too. But
Mm.
speaking of the ending song, I mean, what was it? What was the song in the ending song? It was End Roll by Yo
Yeah,
Kamiyama.
I I'll be honest, like I felt like both like visually I like the new opening. I don't like the song as much. I really preferred Scar by Tatsuya Katani. This one it's not bad. It's okay, but I feel like it's just a huge step down from Scar in my opinion. In terms of just the song itself, not so much the actual like the visuals. Uh, the ending, unfortunately, like I felt in terms of both the song and the visuals weren't bad. Don't get me wrong. I thought they were fine, but it just didn't hit as hard as the first one did, as the first ending by Centerin. This one, it was again, it's not bad. It's just okay, but in comparison to the last ending, it's in my opinion just not nearly as good.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, anyway, this episode, of course, picks up some time after the last episode. Of course, we do get like a little prologue sequence in which we see.
That was
You,
crazy. Like,
yeah, it was the
I,
the, birth, the birth of Yuhaba.
yeah, like the way it was done visually, and I mean, it almost felt like watching a horror movie to some extent. I wasn't even sure what I was looking at first. And also all the creepy chanting, which of course was there chanting Yuhaba. Um, but honestly, like it reminded me a little bit of something from Akira with the it's with Akira himself, which we never really see in the movie, but it reminded me about it seemed almost like similar to something like that because of course Akira is also worshipped as a god.
Yeah.
Uh,
Some parts of
uh,
it also felt like Evangelion at times too, with all the hands,
yeah,
like waving around, chanting Yuhaba's name. Um, but yeah, we pick up sometime after the events of the last episode, in which Uryu gets inducted into the Stern Ritters now. But what's also interesting is that Yuhaba also names Uryu as his successor, which does not sit well with the other Stern Ritters.
yeah. Apparently, because all of them wanted Hashwalt to be the successor and not Uryu, and of course, none of them are even know who Uryu is until now. Well, they might have known who Uryu is, but they don't. Of course, he wasn't fighting alongside them until now. I mean, he was like the enemy. He's been aligned with the Soul Reapers. Um, of course, now he's joining up with them.
Yeah, and of course, we do get this one scene with Bambietta, which just like inviting this random guy into a room that like, hey, I'm in a bad mood, come to my room right now, and it's like the guy just accepts without hesitation, and then immediately he gets split in half.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because she's in somewhat of a state of undress and her legs were spread. Um, I, some people think that this, I don't know, this might have been like the aftermath of some sort of sex scene, but I, I don't know. Like it's hard to say exactly. It might have been more so that she was tempting him, and then just before anything happened, she split him in two. But it's hard to really tell what happened there.
Yeah.
But some people were surprised that they actually included the scene because this did happen in the manga, and I guess some people weren't sure if they were going to actually include this. But I mean, I'm not surprised they did, especially considering how this has been pretty faithful so far to the manga, of course, just with some added stuff.
Yeah, I mean, considering like how much more graphic and more brutal Thousand Year Blood War has been ever
Yeah,
since it came
it's
back.
definitely going for a much more mature tone. I mean, even with the conversation Bambietta has with the other Stern Ritter girls afterwards, of course, like them like I mean, at least one of the other girls calling the other one like a slut and all that, and it's hard to like. I mean, like if you like compare this to like the original series, it's hard to imagine they'd be throwing terms like that around considering I mean it could get dark at times, but it wasn't really, I mean it didn't really go into that sort of stuff like that. It just felt like it didn't want to go there.
I,
But Thousand Year Blood War doesn't really hold back with like anything like that.
I guess you could say the show has aged with the with the original fan base
Yeah,
since watching the original show like over a decade ago. Yeah, I am glad that they're not holding back. With the amount of content that they're showing off in this show, particularly with the gore and the just the explicit nature of of how they're presenting this.
yeah,
So moving on. So after this scene, we also see like another Stern Ritter. I think it was like Bosby was his name.
yeah. Dasby.
Yeah, so he yeah, he also takes issue about Udio being named the successor, and he goes up against he tries calling out what was it Hushwalth about this whole situation, asking like why why he hasn't he even named the successor for Yuhaba, and of course Hushwalth just does just straight up does not object to Udio being named the successor, and of course it looked like Bosby and Hushwalth are about to fight each other, but then all of a sudden I think one of the other Stern Ritters just pops out of nowhere and stops it. I don't know like this guy's name. He's
He
like
has a weird name. I kind of immediately forgot it because it was such a weird name. But yeah,
yeah
he
yeah
uses some. Yeah,
yeah
he stops them with some kind of like energy ball or something. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but because we don't really know what his abilities are.
yeah. So we do transition back to Uryu with Yuhaba, pretty much with like well Uryu of course asks Yuhaba like why is he being named the successor, and Yuhaba just like just tells him that that you are the last surviving Quincy of the world of the living. That's basically the reason, I guess. But I don't know. It's just like there has to be more of a reason as to why Yuhaba decides to name
I'm
Uryu
sure he
as
probably has ulterior motives. I mean,
yeah. And some parts of me also don't. I really don't believe that Uryu is like willing to help Yuhaba with his goals, considering like the amount of time he's helped Ichigo and the others. Like it seems weird
yeah, I
that
mean, even without spoilers and knowing what might end up happening in this arc, I think we can assume that Uryu's not really turned into a bad guy or anything. I think it's like Uryu obviously has there's some ulterior motive with him too, with what he's trying to do. I mean, we don't even know everything about all the details of what was revealed in like what was it, like his grandfather's diary or a journal. So I think there's still a lot we don't know about that too that might give us some idea of what he's really trying to do.
yeah, it's pretty much left ambiguous. It just seems weird and out of nowhere that Uryu just would just suddenly just flip a 180 just out of nowhere just like this. I mean, just basically just reading off a diary, I guess, would be a slightly good reason, but it's not. It's really for Uryu is like there's nothing building up to him like suddenly, turning on his friends and then joining the Stern Raiders out of nowhere.
Right. Um, yeah. So there's, I guess it's some kind of this is some kind of like Quincy blood oath or something like where he has to drink, uh, I guess Yuhaba's blood, and he gains some new abilities or something.
Yeah, quite likely. And
Yeah.
and then soon afterwards, majority of this episode focuses on all the other characters. I guess recovering and training for the upcoming battle against the Stern Ritters, who are supposedly going to come back and invade the Soul Society again. Um,
Mm.
so of course, we get Rukia and Renji training at a dojo. Supposedly, they're just only training by just standing still, staring at each other. I guess. And then Byakuya is also recovered from his injuries. Back at
Uh,
the same what was it that
I I still feel like Byakuya should have died. I if there was anything that I think should have been changed for the anime, I feel like that should have been changed because I mean everything we saw from that scene indicated he was dead. So yeah, to me it just doesn't make sense that he just comes back, recovers from that. Um, but yeah, of course they're staying true to the manga in that regard, where he, of course he survives.
yeah. And then we also see scenes with some of the Vizards again. What was it? It was Hiyori, uh, Ushoda, and what was it? Yarumaru is also back.
Yeah, I so apparently like Hiyori should have shown up before this, but it was good like finally seeing her again in the new art style and all the other Vizards as well.
Yeah, of course. Shinji is, of course, calling her to get some help to, I guess, to repair the Soul Society. And of course, Hiyori is, of course, Hiyori. She doesn't really like Shinji all that much ever since they first met each other. Um,
Yeah.
and of course, like Hiyori, of course, just reluctantly accepts to help out the Soul Society, and that's pretty much all we get to see from there. But I think one of the better scenes. Is what was it? Ichigo's. We see Ichigo's friends again. I think it was Keigo. What was it? Me
Uh,
trying to
yeah,
remember the name.
Keigo. Damn. Yeah, there was the I forget what the other
Okay, Tatsuki.
Tatsuki. Yeah.
Yeah, Tatsuki, and
Um,
I think it was
there were some questions I
Mikuro.
had though, because of course it's been a while since I've seen the series, but I thought that after like, because I remember during like the fake Karakura Town arc, of course they see the fight with Aizen and everything. Because for the majority of the series, a lot of them are in the dark about what's really going on with Ichigo and everything about the Soul Society. And I think if I remember correctly, I think it was during the fake Karakura Town arc that they find out about all that and they find out what's going on with Ichigo. Could have been before this, but I can't. I feel like it was fake Karakura Town arc. Um,
Yeah, I think it was around. I'm pretty sure it was
but I
around that
also
time.
feel like didn't they also have their mind wiped or something after that happened? I felt like that happened. Maybe I'm wrong
They
about that.
don't. I don't think it did. At least
Okay.
as far as I know. But
Yeah, so I
I
guess they
think
remember all that.
But yeah, and they were also at the epilogue scene back in the original series after uh after Ichigo got his powers back.
Yeah.
We see Keigo and the others along with the rest of Ichigo's friends greeting him back by the end of that epilogue at the time. So
Yeah.
it makes
Yeah.
sense
So
that
I
they
guess
still
I
remember.
guess it's indicating that they probably know, um but yeah, it was I will say like it was interesting seeing how some of the characters they do look really similar to how they looked in the original series, but I feel like Hago like he looks pretty different honestly, like from what I was seeing of him, like compared to how he looked in the original series.
Yeah,
Um,
he
and he was
looks
also acting different too. Like he's usually the comic relief character, but he was pretty serious in the scene. Like he didn't there was no comedic shenanigans with him at all, and he's usually kind of the butt of all the jokes. So it was kind of weird seeing him like that.
Yeah. So what happens is Keigo and the others they suddenly run into Shunsui out of nowhere. Like Shunsui just, of course, gives them all the details of what's going on with Ichigo, and then tells them that they're not likely to ever meet Ichigo ever again due to his with this increase in power and abilities as a Soul Reaper or Quincy hybrid of what or whatever, and
Hmm.
and of course as we all know, the upcoming battle against the Stern Ritters is coming up soon. So either he's implying that his power is too great for him to come back to the world of the living, or he's likely going to die in the upcoming battle. And this, of course,
Yeah.
doesn't sit well with Keigo and the others. And Keigo, of course, he gets surprisingly he gets his hands on Shunsui, like looking like he was about to punch him in the face at one point. And then what's also surprising that soon afterwards, Shunsui gives all three of them like a Soul Reaper pass.
Yeah, I guess so they can. I guess so they can. I think he said something about so they can observe Ichigo or something like that. Uh,
Yeah, I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, obviously, like, you know, Yamamoto would never give these three like any kinds of passes, but I guess Shinsui, like, of course, gave them an exception since, well, he's technically now the head captain of, of the Soul Reapers now. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's, yes, I think we also get more scenes with Orihime and the others, and I think we see another hooded figure. My guess that could be Grimjow, but
I was
it's
really hoping they were going to reveal whether or not this was Grimjow, but I think to me it's pretty obvious that's who it is. I mean, it's the only person it could be, in my opinion. That I mean, they're in Waco Mundo, and we know Grimjow's still around, so I think it's probably Grimjow. I just don't know why they're holding off on actually revealing that it's him.
yeah,
I feel like it's not really, it shouldn't really be a surprise that it's Grimjow.
yeah, and it also seems like Nella is also training for the upcoming battle too, but she's still in her child form. So I mean,
Yeah,
unless if she's I guess she could transform back to her original form again, but it's weird the way that she's training in her form in that manner. But I guess we'll get to see later. But I guess the one thing that also surprises me is by the end of this episode is that the Stern Ritters, of course, invade the Soul Society again.
it happened pretty quick too, because I mean, it wasn't long after they invaded it the last time, and then they just come right back to invade again. Um, and yeah, and of course, like everything like kind of turns this red color, and I guess I really like the way everything looked here, with the art style.
Yeah, and of course the final scene with Yuhaba asking Uryu about the whole legend, or I think it was the whole like legend about
Like
like
that.
involving the number nine. So it's like one with like 900 years, the other for like 90 days, or and
The
the
Quincy
last.
King regains his pulse after 900 years or something, and then uh, his mind after 90 days. I forget what the rest of it was, but then there's like some verse that or you didn't know about, which is that, and then he takes over the world, or he takes over the world or something in the next 9 days. Um,
Yeah, which is of course
yeah,
the title of this episode, and that's where we leave off until next week, I guess.
yeah. I was really impressed with this. I mean, it's hard to say because I remember they were mentioning that like the animation was going to be improved in part two, but so far, like to me, it seems about on par with the first part. I mean, it looks just as good. It doesn't. I can't really tell much of a difference. I think we'll probably see maybe during the fight scenes, the improved animation, because that's what they were saying for part two. They were gonna the animation was gonna be even better, but it's hard to imagine too because I felt like part one already had some really impressive animation. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah, and as far as I know, this part is going to have a lot of fights. So
Yeah.
um,
There is a bit of confusion about the episode count initially. Um, we were some sources said that this arc was gonna be at least 14 episodes, but then just yesterday there was a like a Blu-ray release preview saying that there was gonna be 13 episodes. So unless
Hmm.
two of the episodes are going to be combined into one or something, it's just not clear. But
They
I
could
mean,
do something maybe like what they did with the first part, where like it's like a two-parter episode or something like that.
yeah, I mean, 13 episodes still makes sense. I mean, I'm just wondering like where the initial news of the 14 episodes came
Yeah.
from. It's just well, I mean, it was a little confusing at the time, but I mean, 13 episodes. I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, it's just it's just a little bit confusing as to why it was initially said to be 14.
Yeah. Yeah, I am wondering about that. Like if they're saying it was 14, like to me that maybe the last episode will just be like a longer episode.
Yeah,
But
most likely it's.
because I think they did say it was going to be longer. Maybe
Mhm.
that was where the confusion was. Maybe longer wasn't implying more episodes. Maybe it was implying maybe that there would be like maybe longer episodes or maybe just a longer episode at the end of the score.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the last episode's gonna be a double length episode.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about it. I'm glad that Bleach is back, and of course, it's hard to imagine like having seen the original series so long ago that it would come back with these production values. But I'm glad that we got it in this in this format. Like I never thought
Yeah,
we'd see that we'd see something like this.
yeah. I mean, it still sucks that we would need to wait at least a half a year's time between cores in order to keep watching this. I mean, before the original series, they would just constantly pump out episodes on a weekly basis, nonstop. But now
Right.
they're just more focused on the
Well,
production value of the show
yeah, and
instead.
I prefer this way of doing it too because with the original series they, like you said, yeah, they had to put out episodes pretty much on a regular basis, and because of that, they would outpace the manga and they'd be ahead of the manga, and then we get stuff like filler, and I feel like the production quality would suffer because of it. But
Yeah,
here, I like that they have these, we have different separate cores where the studio has enough time to really like you know, to really improve the quality of it and make it as good as it can be. And I mean, of course, it helps that the manga is already finished anyway. So
yeah. I definitely like I definitely agree. I mean, it still sucks that we would need to wait 6 months. I mean, at best, I would really hope it would be like a three month break. But I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I mean, obviously, like we would probably not watch the actual end of the series probably as late as 2024 or maybe
probably.
2025. Yeah, but like overall, I did enjoy the episode. I mean, obviously, there was not a lot of action. It was just more of a continuation from the end of the last episode, showcasing all the characters again and what they're potentially hinting of what's going to happen in this upcoming arc.
Yeah. But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we'll see you all later.